Welcome to Get Big Out Loud Radio, where we explore living the complex, funny, and beautiful ride of life with me, Kari Knutson, and Dr. Pat on transformationtalkradio.com. Are your thoughts keeping you small? Are you ready to get big? I will offer you ideas to transform what you are thinking into conscious action. Explore what is keeping you small and how to shift your behaviors in order to get big. Learn what is possible for you. Get ready to get big and live life out loud starting now.
We have got a great show. I'm Dr. Pat. I get to join the most incredible Kari Knutson on this show, her amazing show, her long-running hit show. Today's topic is so on point. When Kari picks a topic, I'm always like, OMG, she had to be here with me. She had to be here with me over the weekend, a little bit of last week. This is the topic that I know most of you are going to be like, really? Yeah, the things we can't rush. You got that? The things we can't rush. So what's Dr. Pat's number one thing? Grandma's 2-day-old amazing meat spaghetti sauce. You cannot rush that. If you rush it, you don't get grandma's sauce. You get some version of sauce that doesn't really have any of the elements, the smoothness to taste. My friend would tell me, you can't rush a good bourbon, but I don't drink, so I don't know about that. Today, you're going to hear what Kari Knutson talks about. This is a culture where we value speed, not even little speed, like mega speed. You know, you ever notice this, Kari? Like we're now in a culture where if we have to wait 3 seconds for the TV channel today, we're calling the TV provider.
Oh,
like you hit the remote, right? And,
right. Well, and most people don't know a time before remotes when you actually had to physically get up and turn the channel. You know, like there was a time not that long ago when you just got up to turn it. Yeah. And that's why when we talk about the things you can't rush, there's so many things in our lives we know we can't rush, but then the counter argument is like of society is like hurry up, and we're kind of, our attention spans are getting shorter, and that idea of like we can't even wait the 3 seconds to turn something, it's real, right? So that's the good part about talking about things today, is there are some things we just can't rush. And what is the value in bringing some consciousness to why is it hard to be patient for those things? Like, the 2-day, that sauce you're going to taste that your grandma is going to taste so good. But in the time it takes to make it, some other things pop into your head about, I could just do this easier, open a can of ragu and just be done with it. Because
I have done that. I have done that
because I'm busy, right? And so that's what I wanted to bring up today, because I do think it's important to like analyze a little bit about the cultural messages that we get versus what is helpful to us internally. And the whole goal of the show is around like, can we just become conscious of some ideas so then we can counter them without just being pushed by them. Like we can get, do I really need, to, like, can I have some patience? And what does patience mean anyway, right? When you think about patience, like, so I wanted to explore some of those topics today around like what we can and can't rush. What does patience really mean? Because
well, tell me what patience is, because most people don't understand it. I actually had to look up tenacity for an episode I'm doing, but people don't understand what patience really means. Now with grandma's sauce, you couldn't leave it. It's not a crock pot project. You understand? So that meant for 2 days, you are not leaving the house. You understand? So what does patience mean?
Well, I looked up because I wanted to counter it with like the definition. So I'm just going to look at the ability to accept, this is going to Webster's, by the way. Okay. The ability to accept obstacles, delays, and adversity in a calm, self-possessed, and uncomplaining manner. And when I read that, I'm like, oh, it's very hard to be calm, self-possessed when you're trying to be patient. And it sounds straightforward, right? But when you try to practice it, when's the last time you're like, oh, I'm having a problem, look at me being calm or self-possessed or uncomplaining? We're kind of primed to do the opposite. And so I want to explore first about like, why? Well, because sometimes in a world that says, go faster, do more, it should have been done yesterday, give 110%. And if you're trying to be patient or live in the moment or take a beat, it's almost antithetical to the pressure of society. So it's like, what's wrong with you that you're not, you know, responding like with what's next or hurry up, or like, even have you noticed like if someone like is like on the way to, I have this goal, did you reach it or not? And it becomes very much like yes, no, good, bad, I did or I didn't. And that's why it's hard to be patient too, because you want the end result, you know, to show itself. And so that's hard too in a society that like, what's the end result? How did you get there? Not like how was the journey for you? No one ever said like on the way to go, how was that journey for you along the way? And sometimes I think we're so focused on, you know, what happened, what was the outcome, how quickly could you do it? Because efficiency has become another thing in our society. Like, be efficient. Like, don't just drive somewhere, drive and be listening to a podcast, or like drive and be listening to your voice messages, or like have your book on tape so you can drive and listen, or like don't just make like a couple trips in after the grocery store. Like, you better get it all in one trip. You got to be efficient. And sometimes you're like, why can't I take 3 trips in from the car? Or like, why can't I just drive somewhere and drive, or just call somebody on the phone, not while driving, and just call and just talk? And like what is this, you know, drive? And I really think we have to look at society's idea of what it means to be productive, also how we're driven towards producing things and doing things. And then that leads to us also saying, like, if you meet somebody, a lot of times we say, how are you doing? And people say, I'm busy. Busy has become a feeling, an identity, sometimes a badge of honor. Like, look at me,
Yeah.
I'm so busy. I'm so busy. And sometimes if you want to one up somebody, like, oh yeah, I know, I'm crazy busy. Like, and then we're all busy, so then it's all okay. But if you just said, like, what if you're not busy? Then do you have
Well,
worth? Are you okay? Like, but we just
right?
push that up on a pedestal.
Well, look at you're absolutely, you know what? When I talk to our clients, we have a number of amazing hosts on the network and I do meetings with them, but I will get these text messages. I know you're really busy. I have never said I'm busy. I don't even use that word.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You understand? I don't, because I don't want to be busy. I want to be in harmony. I want to be in flow. But I'm shocked about how many people think I'm too busy to talk with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought about that and I thought, okay, even if I don't say the word, am I demonstrating that I'm too busy? Am I doing something? But then the sanity check was, no, I'm not. So what happens is I think about that and then I think, oh my gosh, they must be too busy. Now we're into a conversation and a story we just made up about everybody in the world being too busy and none of it's true.
Yeah. Yeah. But then also that's like, too, what if you didn't say you were busy? Then like, what's wrong with you? Because everyone else
Oh my
is,
God,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
like get busy. But yeah, but then at the same time, find time for yourself, like that whole take care of yourself thing, but not really, right? Because the rest of us are busy. And I think it's hard for some of us to just to see that busyness is different from like progress or actual movement. And
Mhm.
sometimes we mistake that our busyness for making progress, and we're just busy doing a lot of things, but like, are we making progress really? So it's harder
Oh,
to see that. And I think that
oh,
we have to identify the cultural norms first, which make us feel like I should have done that yesterday. I've got to hurry up. I've got to be busy getting, like, even for rest. Sometimes I think about like the idea of like when you need to rest or your body needs to stop or you need to sleep, like that's not productive time, but like is it? Because your body needs that, but we don't sometimes categorize that like, oh, I'll figure it out, like I'll sleep later. I used to think like, oh God, you can sleep when you're dead. Why do you need it now? Like I used to have to like really like go. And we have to
oh.
counter that, like, is it productive to stop and rest? Is that still productive? Yes, because your body needs that. Like, but it doesn't look like you're doing something. And again, countering these messages of like, what is my busyness about versus when I'm working on, is am I making progress? And can you look at the duality too of the like all or nothingness, or the fact that I do feel like the idea of having patience
Mm.
is is almost antithetical to most messaging that we're getting. Like when you make a goal, what are your SMART goals? Can you measure it? Can you see it? Can you check all the things in SMART goals, which I just get to the S, like part, and then I'm like, what is that? Like, you know what I mean? But like we try to like, we even in our life, like trying to categorize things and measure them, and like I don't have one of these, but you know, the watches that can measure like your steps and your sleep pattern
Oh,
and your
oh,
heartbeat, and they can
oh,
remind you to stand up, and they can like, so you can have a lot of measurements of all kinds of things. We can measure so many things. Like, and you can look at your workout, how long you worked out, what your heart rate was, how many miles you went, whatever. But then, so those are measurable, and we really like measurements because it's tangible. Then what if on the other, how can I measure my healing
mm,
progress? How do I measure trust being built in a relationship? How do I measure if I've gained some wisdom? Like, see how like hard it is to be like, and then our brain's like, well, these are facts and these are tangible. So then we lean towards that because we like to measure things. We like tangible, you know, acknowledgement of see what I did, see what I did. And that, I think, comes not only from society, but from the human need to like show other people, to get some recognition that if
yeah,
other people see my growth, or I have something to show for what I did, I have something to show for it. Seeing what I can, here's how, and I think it's, that has its place, but to me, it's at the expense of all of this other kind of growth over here, that we miss out on. If we're so focused on this, we miss it on that. And then I'll say this too, like feeling like a failure. I didn't reach my
yeah,
goal, so I failed. But you're like, did you do some things towards your goal? Maybe you learned something in that, because it's, again, it's that all or nothing. I either got my goal or I didn't. I either succeeded or I failed. I either got my time or I didn't. Whatever thing. So then we're left with a lot of people feeling like failures, instead of being able to say, like, well, let's talk about what you learned along the journey, or that you're learning, or like, is the end goal the really goal, is, or is it the tangible thing that you want to show people? Like, so I think that's worth exploring a bit in our own psychology, because our identity doesn't get wrapped up in
yeah.
achievement, right? It's more wrapped up in, am I making progress, versus did I achieve all those things with my SMART goals?
I never could remember what the S in SMART goals meant. I mean, I think it's interesting because let's talk about two things that you brought up. And I want to make a distinction between busy and rushing. Busy and rushing. Because people don't put those two together. They are two peas in a pod. They are two strange fellow. They are two strange bedfellows. And what do I mean by that? If somebody is in that busy, busy, busy energy, can I call it energy for the moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Energy. Okay, let me ask you a question. Have you ever watched window people put windows in high-rise buildings?
Mm-hmm. When they're strapped into all that climbing gear.
Busy is not something you find, right? And it's really interesting how it shows up in language, because part of this you mentioned about healing, and I want to mention something about healing. You know, look, I've gone through a healing journey, you've gone through it. Mine was 10 years. Because it's not very easy if you use holistic medicine. And I had to use it because nobody else could figure out what's going on with me. That was my last option to healing, to feeling healthy. And I remember going into Dr. Darvish's office, my naturopath, the first time, right? And I go in and I bring her all my stuff. And she does her magic and he says, well, the good news is you don't have this. And then she says, well, the other news is more to be revealed. And I looked at Dr. Darvish like, what? What? Okay. And I'm waiting for the more, like in that that first visit. And then I walk out just like I did the first time I met with my therapist in 1980, I don't know what. And I said, okay, we're done now, right? Okay. So that is the way we think about things, though, right? It's like
Yeah, fix it.
therapy, we're done yet.
Yeah,
Dr. Darvish, are my fixed?
yeah.
If I
Am I fixed? Am I done? Is it
am
over?
I fixed? Am I done?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But
And
to
I
your
also think,
point,
tell me what to do, and then I'll do it, and then I'll be done. And sometimes that whole idea of like more to be revealed, that's a beautiful way to say it. Like, well, you got to start sometimes, and then the next thing will come. But like, notice again in our psyches, almost like, okay, are we done here? Like I said, the thing, are we done? Like, some things can't be rushed, but we are inclined to rush them. And I feel like,
Yeah.
I think for me, it's interesting, kind of like you. I notice if I'm unchecked, I know I'm not very patient. Like I want to do the next thing, and what's next? I want to go. What's next on the schedule? What's next on the thing? What are we doing next? What do we finish? And I took a test, an assessment, not a test, an assessment for emotional intelligence, a few years back, and one of the things that came up that I was lower on was impulse control, and I was offended at first. I'm like, impulse control? I have impulse control. I totally do. And then I was like, what does that even mean? And I'm looking it up, feeling like I failed because I got to, and this is also is not it's an assessment of like, you can't fail the assessment. It's just insight, right? It's not like good or bad, but I took it immediately. And I even study this, right? But here's my humanness coming out. I'm like, I'm low on impulse control. And then I got all angry about it because I have, and then I tried to prove to myself, yeah, I do have impulse control because I didn't want to fail the assessment. And then I had to laugh about, I don't know, like 20 minutes later to see my initial reaction. Then I was laughing at myself to be like, you're not, you don't have actually great impulse control. That's another word for patience. And this is really great insight because you could use someone, which is why you wanted to take the assessment in the first place, because I work on everything with emotional intelligence. And if I don't look at myself, what am I doing teaching it, But it was a laughable moment for me because impulse control connected to patience, connected to waiting, and I was like, I have to work on that. It's not my default to be patient. Then I live in this culture, which kind of goes with my default of faster, more, go, hurry up. And I have to consciously be like, slow down, take a beat, take a breath. Maybe don't solve this today. Maybe time out. Like I have to really go to another place to do that. But I think it'd be funny for listeners in their own life to notice in what places where you like think you have patience, but you don't, right? Or like for me, impulse control on my evaluation, my assessment, and then like thinking like, why don't I have impulse control? Because I want to make things happen. And so I just think it's a good moment for all of us. Even if you look at your own life, your two examples are perfect. Are we done here? Do we wrap it up? And then be like, this is the process. That you can laugh about it is good too, because these are our human foibles, our human condition. This is, how we show up in the world. And if you can acknowledge it with some love and some compassion for yourself instead of judgment, that's where, like, now I can say, like, I'm working on impulse control, but without like, and I'm horrible because I don't have it, versus like, oh, this is something I'm working on.
Yeah. But you see what we're talking, let's cover a few things. I want to cover some of the things that you've outlined to talk about today, but it's really kind of laughable. We have to laugh at ourselves. I remember going to Dr. Jean Houston, who recently passed away, and we are going to miss her. But I also studied at that first a workshop she did on leadership. I was one of the first to be in the first workshop she did, 10 days, right? And all of a sudden I'm like, really? 10 days? It takes 10 days, right? You could see, right? So I get there and I got to work with the most amazing woman who actually left this planet way too soon, Dr. Angela Sarian. And I remember being a private conversation. We got to work with people privately, and I just wanted to work with her. And you know what she gave me to do? And I misunderstood the task. Why? Because patience also goes to listening, doesn't it?
Yes.
You have to pick the patience to listen.
Yes.
So she said something like, I have an assignment for you. I want you to literally watch grass grow. I want you to watch grass grow. I want you, but she was using it metaphorically. So what do? I go out to the workshop, and for a month, I watched a grass grow. And I was so obsessed about it that I dug up the patch of, I had the patch of grass and I would not cut around it so I could watch it grow, because I thought I watched it grow. For an hour a day, I would go out and watch it grow. Now, clearly she laughed her butt off. That wasn't the assignment, but it really was. What did that tell me? First of all, it let me know I could actually spend an hour, and I was really busy back then. I'm going to tell you, I was just so busy. I was finishing up my doctorate. I mean, busy in the word, where my day was full. I never felt busy, but I took an hour. and I watched the grass grow every day. And something happened to me around that. And then I forgot it. So walk us through the important growth areas of our lives that maybe if we all could sit and watch grass grow for 15 minutes, it may create a shift. But
Yes.
let's talk about the list and what some of the real challenging areas are for people.
Yes. Well, and I love your example because the whole thing of like literally watching grass grow is one way to think about, but all in our lives, it's like, where in my life could I be watching grass grow? But what I think sometimes people do is they be like, now I have to, like, if I want to meditate, I better meditate for an hour and like make sure I do it. Like versus like, can I take some breaths in this moment and bring mindfulness to this moment without having to like set a timer, sit on the floor, do an hour, whatever. Because if it doesn't fit into your life, then you do a task, you do something that and then it's not really the point of the task. Like the whole thing, the point wasn't to watch the grass grow. Can you stop in your life and
Yeah.
notice something for a period of time, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes things take time. So doing something on the daily that slows you down and makes you stop, that's like a good lesson. But then again, what you said, but then how come I forgot it? Because real life, because it was so extreme, right? It's not part of your real life. And part of the goal when you think about practicing mindfulness and self-awareness is, are there things I can do on the daily, on the not a special, now I'm going to practice mindfulness and like because I could do that for some amount of time if I'm like want to do, okay, I'll take this retreat or I'll do this thing, but like eventually real life comes back in. So the goal is to say, in my real life, in my
Yeah.
actual day today, how I am including things on the daily. And I say this: real time, real budget, real you. The real time you have to do something, but also I will say in the time category, when people say they're busy, I try to say this because we make time for things that are important all the time, even if we're busy. So I like to say that's not a priority for me right now, just to recognize when I say I'm too busy for that, because I'm like, I will never go to sleep with the kitchen being a mess. Even if I'm exhausted,
Oh, yeah.
I will clean the kitchen, right? I will clean it up because I don't want to wake up for it in the morning. So that's a priority. So I still have time somehow to clean that, right? Even if I'm exhausted, I'll make time for that. Or when I think about like, the things that are important, like even if I'm busy, I'm going to figure out how to get my kids where they need to go and figure out the schedule and do the thing because they have to get where they need to go and they need someone to help them do that, right? So that's my priority, is that they get to school and their activities. So even if, so like we have different priorities even when we're busy, right? So like I feel like, first of all, thinking about time, I don't have time for that, versus like what's my priority. Then so real time, thinking about the real time you have in your day to do things, but then real budget. Like sometimes like going on a retreat, I'd love to go on a yoga retreat to like the south of France and like have a month to just be calm, whatever. Like that's not gonna happen right now, right? So
Oh,
the
my
real
gosh.
budget. And sometimes like do you have budget to take a yoga class? Do you have a budget to go exercise or whatever at a gym? Sometimes we don't have the budget for things that we think would help us um get into that place of patience and slowing down, or like mindfulness. So you have to think, is walking around the block, so observing nature and taking or sitting on my back porch for a minute, watching the hummingbirds come in, is that enough to slow me down with the real budget that I have to do things? And then real me, what are things I enjoy? Like I don't enjoy sitting cross-legged on a mat. Like it just was uncomfortable. And I'm always thinking, am I gonna fall asleep or not, or whatever. But like when you're thinking about
And
someone
start snoring.
or start snoring or is, but whatever. And again, that works for some people. So you don't want to poo-poo their things, but real you means like, what does it mean for me to be patient with myself and slow down? And this is like two small examples though. Sometimes when the sun is setting, and my husband's really good about this, he's like, oh, let's go make sure don't miss the sunset. And so even when middle of cooking dinner, we'll put everything on simmer or whatever and like go out for 5 minutes and just be on our front porch. And it's the best part of my day, just to like slow things down. Like I don't want to miss the
Yeah.
sunset, right? Like, and to see that. And then other times too, I'll just slow down. Like I have a favorite tea that I like to drink, and I like to make the tea, and I have a favorite mug. And sometimes it's just like, I'm gonna like take the time to make this tea that I like, let it simmer, get my mug out, and just sit and not sit and scroll and not sit and be folding laundry and sipping my tea and doing whatever. Just like, I'm going to enjoy this tea and sit somewhere and just drink my tea for a minute. And sometimes that's like a 10, 15, 20, whatever it is. But is that enough to slow it down in a way I could do in my daily life? So real time, real budget, real you. Things
Yeah.
that you can do. But part of that is inviting the idea of like, in what ways in my life can I slow things down enough to enjoy them or appreciate them or get a lesson from them, whatever? In what ways can I consciously invite that in a world that says, hurry up, move on, get done with this? What's the schedule? That's like the middle point, I say, between like making a decision and just being run by your unconscious mind. I'm going to make a decision to slow down. I'm going to make a decision to enjoy this moment. I'm going to get a decision to let myself relax a little bit. Or, and I even like to say, even enjoy, like, did you get through your day? And is there's some things you can be like, I'm proud of myself for getting through today, instead of like, like waiting to the end of the month or the year to like take stock in what you did. Could today be enough? Right. So that's one kind of thing that I wanted to think about, like how we invite that kind of thinking into our lives. And that, to me, that's also about permission to, like you were saying, I'm in the middle of my PhD, but yet I'm going to go spend an hour kind of meditating outside and being outside. Right. And then what did it give me? Well, sometimes it doesn't give us stuff right away. Sometimes we're annoyed by it, or sometimes it's like we have to let our bodies, like, I have to calm down enough to enjoy an experience. I have to calm down.
You really do. This is really reoccurring across the board, but you and I are perfect examples. Now, I got to tell you, my greatest teacher right now is Linda, my best friend. And, I'm not saying that Linda is the most patient person in the world, but there are some things she's extraordinarily patient. And I'm watching her now. She made a decision. First of all, you've got to make decisions. You've got to make a decision about, do I turn right or do I turn left? I mean, it's not quite like that, but you get it. But we're back here in New Jersey, and it's an opportunity. And when you go through and you handle the loss of a loved one's estate, or the loss of a loved one, like a mom, like she did. She took care of her mom for like 12 years, then had to handle all that. So she has all the paperwork. And I'm watching her now because what did she say to me? She said, I've got to do this. It's starting to feel heavy, but I'm watching I'm watching the systematic way. I'm talking boxes. Every piece of paper is picked up, read carefully. A decision is made. Do I keep it emotionally? Not, I'm watching this. It's such a beautiful depiction of what you're talking about today. Why? It handles one, the recovery from loss. And yes, we do grieve decades after we lose someone. But I'm just watching the patience. See, now, if that were me, kind of like when I moved out here, you should have seen the way I got rid of things on December 10th. Hello. But I'm watching this. And at some level, I could feel the energy and the gratitude. Now, what if we could do that in different areas of our life? We're going to take a short break. When we come back, what is it like to really look at items in our lives where we can kind of accelerate things a bit, but other areas, you better have the patience of a saint. Kari, how do people find out about you? What is the best way for people to work with you? Because you are an emotional intelligence expert. And then when we come back, I'm going to tell you about my lesson from ping pong.
Oh, of course we had to bring up ping pong. We would
Oh my
miss it,
God.
right? So you can find out about me at knutsonspeaks.com. You can find about coaching, about my presentations, about my keynotes, about my one-woman show, and all the various things I do that encompass Knutson Speaks. And I didn't post my EQI assessment, but now everyone knows I'm a level 1 impulse control, everybody. You won't find that on my website, but I'm telling you that now.
I should take that. Great. So that's where people can find everything about you, how to hire you for speaking, and all of the above. When we come back, we're going to talk about the story of growth and patience and how they relate to so many, many things. But I am going to challenge you. to take 15 minutes a day and watch grass grow. Really just watch it. Watch it. You'd be amazed at what you see. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back.
We remember a time when you could simply form a thought and it would manifest. The harmony was forgotten, but it is returning now. The Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia will take you on adventures through the heart and spirit, exploring who we once were and how to awaken that power today. Julia studied under the guidance of wolves, learning from their wisdom to master a higher frequency for new state of mind. Learn to master the secrets of manifestation. Visit onetrueself.com.
Are you ready to get big and live your life out loud? Tune in to Get Big Out Loud Radio, exploring life through the lens of curiosity and compassion, with me, Kari Knutson, joining Dr. Pat live every second Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific on transformationtalkradio.com. I will offer ideas to transform what you are thinking into conscious action. If you want to get big and live your life out loud, visit me at knutsonspeaks.com.
Mystery School Ancient Wisdom for Everyday Life is your practical and inspiring gateway to spiritual awakening. Join me, Shakti Durga, and Dr. Pat every first and third Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time as we explore relationships, inner plane realities, channel light beings, learn from ancient wisdom, and share tools to navigate life with ease and grace. Are you ready to step into your highest potential? Subscribe to Mystery School. Your transformation starts here.
Cut the shit. Stop struggling to feel present. Stop being taken advantage of. Express how you feel and stop making choices based on what other people think. Intuition Unleashed, a revolution in personal liberation podcast, is your go-to resource for combining guidance with mental health and spirituality and solving your questions about why you can't seem to catch a break and find your true happiness. And you can find more episodes at becknelson.com/podcast.
We remember a time when you could simply form a thought and it would manifest. The harmony was forgotten, but it is returning now. The Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia will take you on adventures through the heart and spirit, exploring who we once were and how to awaken that power today. Julia studied under the guidance of wolves, learning from their wisdom to master a higher frequency for new state of mind. Learn to master the secrets of manifestation. Visit onetrueself.com.
Are you ready to get big and live your life out loud? Tune in to Get Big Out Loud Radio, exploring life through the lens of curiosity and compassion, with me, Kari Knutson, joining Dr. Pat live every second Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific on transformationtalkradio.com. I will offer ideas to transform what you are thinking into conscious action. If you want to get big and live your life out loud, visit me at knutsonspeaks.com.
Mystery School Ancient Wisdom for Everyday Life is your practical and inspiring gateway to spiritual awakening. Join me, Shakti Durga, and Dr. Pat every first and third Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time.
Cut the shit. Stop.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Before we go into this, one more time, give out your website if you don't mind, Kari.
Sure, it's knutsonspeaks.com, KNUTSON speaks.com. You can find out about training, coaching, presentations, keynotes, one-woman show, the whole thing, it's on there.
Yeah, and in a couple of months, I'm going to be hooking up with Kari because she's going to help me with my Unstuckable platform and speaking platform for that. Look, we were talking about what's patience. We're talking about the things we can't rush. and so trust was one of them. Learning a new skill is another one. And then we're going to talk about some of the most important growth points that you especially have gone through recently. But I get coached, this, and I change clubs. Now, I still play on Tuesday at my other club, but I wasn't feeling it. It wasn't a good environment. Is the culture good? Whatever. So I started up at Match Point. And I love the people. I love the coaches. I show up on Saturday. You're there from 2 to 4. And I'm a pretty good player. So they don't have a lot of criticism. They do have a lot of coaching. But the one thing across the board that I heard over and over and over again on Saturday was, don't rush. Slow down. Don't rush. And one of the coaches that I love getting coached from says, you're rushing. Why are you rushing? Why are you rushing your forehand? Why are you rushing? We're going to be here from 2 to 4. Rushing is not going to get you out of here any sooner. It's not going to get you. So it showed up and it held a mirror in front of me. And when I left there, I had a new perspective that reflected on my life. Because I got to tell you, there's some things I'm getting very impatient about. So walk us through, because you're going to talk about one of them. Walk us through you and why this topic became so important to you.
Yes, well, it so came up like in my face this month because I had a back injury. I talked about this before on the show. In February, I hurt my back really bad, and months of recovery. And I like in bed recovery for days, kind of recovery, like a big a brace on my back, physical therapy appointments, chiropractic appointments, rest of like going to the doctor, like all the things, and then like only doing one thing in a day, which might have been to go to appointment, come home, and then that was enough, right? Like days and weeks, and then now months of it. And so I finally got cleared to go back to the gym, and now it's June, and so I went back to the gym, and I was feeling like happy about getting cleared by my doctor. My physical therapist, like I can go back to the gym, and we talked about the exercises I can do, and I was feeling good in the moment, but then I go to this gym. It's called Coco, and it's a digital gym. Essentially, you can put your fob in, and it keeps track of your workouts and all this stuff. And it said, "Welcome back. Your last session was on February 6th." And I just looked at the date, and I'm like, February 6th. And now I'm like February, March, April, May, June, July. I was June, and I was like, oh my God, 5 months. It's June, and it's been fun. And then I was just in a weirdest place because I'm like, part of me couldn't believe it had been 5 months since I've been there because it didn't feel that long. And other was like a century of like these 5 months have taken so long just to be able to go back to the gym. And it was such a weird juxtaposition moment. And then I felt all this sense of like, why wasn't I here? Why couldn't I come back in March or April? And I'm like, well, or May, because it's June, right? And then I played these games in my head. I was like, you've got to stop wishing something different because you're here in June because it took you till June. And even my physical therapist, she was like, you're doing really good for the injury you had.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have expected you to go back sooner. I
Yeah.
think you're on a good line. Like her perspective was so like, you're doing great. And my perspective was like 5 months. And then what I started to realize was I couldn't see my progress, but the progress to get me to the gym even was huge progress. And I didn't count all the days of like resting is progress, right? Getting able to get off from the bed. And I had my husband even one day I was feeling sad about my progress. And he's like, you couldn't even get out of bed by yourself, like, or put your socks on. Let's go back to those days, right? Like you couldn't go down a step. Like, do you want to remember that to see how far you've come? And like, so sometimes it's the remembering the progress, even if it's slow or you can't see it. And I thought my back healing, I couldn't see my back healing. And sometimes even feeling it change from day to day, like that's healing, even though it's not all healed, it's in process. So the whole experience of going back to the gym just kind of shocked me into like the range of emotions I had about progress, success, timeliness. What was I succeeding? And even my first workout, I'm only cleared to pick up so much weight now. And I had to laugh because the person at the gym was like, well, we'll just set up the machine and you'll just go back to the beginning. And she said it was like, this is great. And I wanted to cry. Like, I don't want to go back to the beginning. I don't want to. I want to be where I was when I left off before the injury.
Oh, I
But I'm
know.
different now. I have a back injury and I am working on my full recovery, which everyone says you'll be fully recovered. But I wanted to do it. I got hurt in February. By March, I should be ready to go. So it was the reason I wrote this podcast, because I was surprised at myself and my wide range of reactions to simply the idea of going back to the gym and seeing that like on the screen. And made me think probably in our lives, a lot of people have those moments where like we feel kind of, I felt kind of gutted for a minute. Like I was like, what are we doing? 5 months. And then I have to tell myself, yeah, 5 months, that's really good. And I was like, it's just important, and that's why I had to reflect on it, because without reflection, I could have stayed in that spot. Like, I'm failing. I have to go back to the beginning. Oh my God, it's been 5 months. I haven't really done I don't have anything to show for it. And on the other hand, to be like, look what you did in 5 months.
Yeah.
Look at the progress. And I kind of think about this analogy sometimes. If you plant a seed, you literally don't see anything for a long time. And it's doing all this work, but you can't see it. But we trust it because we know the journey of a seed into, like, say, a flower. We know the journey is you got to go down and get rooted, or out, to get rooted, and then you can go up. But we wait. We even say, like, it says a time of germination. Like, I got to wait this many weeks. We don't yell at the seed. We don't berate the seed. We don't stop watering the seed. We know it's going to happen, right? We know. And then when a little sprout comes up, we don't squish it down and be like, oh, damn, you're only doing this much. We're like, yay, you're going to start to bloom. Because we know what to expect. And I'm like, why can't we do that as human beings? Like, look at me. Maybe it's the stuff nobody can see, but I'm working on stuff, right? And maybe it's going to take whatever time it takes, because that's what it takes. And also, when I see a little bit of progress, why do I want to stomp it down like it's not good enough?
Right.
Like a little shoot, right? And so I think
Right.
it's a good comparison, because so much progress sometimes happens in things we cannot see, quantify, or measure. And we love to live in a society. I can see it, I can quantify it, I can measure it, and I can, prove it. And the things we can't prove, like, am I building trust in my relationship with someone? How do you prove that? Over time, you build trust. If I'm learning a new skill, am I supposed to be good at something right away? I had to know how to do the thing for a while and learn the new skill, right, to get better at it, because I'm not doing it yet. But then those are so important. It's important to consciously think of that, because if we miss the opportunity to consciously be like, no, I'm doing okay, or like, this is progress, this counts. And that's what I can, like, this, everything has to count towards the eventual goal, but the timing of it is not always up to me, right? So that's what thanks Coco Fit Club for that. Like, I had a real moment at Coco Fit Club.
But that's the lesson. It's like me, I got 2 knees replaced during COVID. And people say, really? Why'd you do that? That's another story for another show. It's the best decision I ever made. The hospitals were so clean, you could literally eat off the floor during COVID for some of these things. But I went at the tail end of COVID. But I went and I said to Dr. Boone, okay, let's get them both done. Let's literally cut open your knees, each of them, by about 12 inches and get them done, is what I'm telling him. He said, well, we don't really do that anymore. Why don't we do one at a time? We can't do both? Well, we're going to do one at a time. Okay. So how long does it take to do one, then the other? 3 months. I can do it in 2. No, you can't. No, you can't, Pat. This
You're
is not
bargaining.
that game. You know that game? I could guess it in 3. No. But I did do it well. My mindset was to get it done faster, but not compromise on quality. And sometimes that is what happens. We take a shortcut, especially on loss. We take a shortcut. We don't mourn it. We don't grieve it. And then this happened to me the other day. I drive down the street and I get triggered by a street sign that I used to drive by 40 years ago. I said it to Linda. I said, Linda, I'm telling you, I drive down that Route 22 and every time I pass the street, I get triggered. She said, why? I said, because this reminds me of being 17 years old and my parents throwing me out, and I'm on the street and my car broke down on Terrell Road. And I say, clearly, I got to do healing. Have you had anything like that? Loss is a tough one. You cannot rush that.
No, but we sometimes want, aren't I done yet? And
Ugh.
I call this for me, I want to skip the line. I want to be done. I want to just, and you know, the line is there. And you know what happens if I was going to a bank and try to skip the line, people would give you the death stare and you would not. You can't just, like at a bank or let's say the grocery store, there's no place in life I know where you're like, oh, I'm just going to skip this line, right? Like, but in life, sometimes you're like, oh man, grief again, or I thought I was done with this, or especially when we get triggered by things. And I think the same thing happens to me, like when you think about different things, like a number on the scale, a number in your bank account, a
Oh,
way things should have happened, a memory of a song that comes up, whatever, and then you think, oh, I thought I was done with this, but then here it comes right back. And that's an important message for us. Like, and I say this to myself as a thought pattern, Kari, you can't skip the line. You can't
I
skip
know.
the line. So you got to
Can't skip the
be
line.
where you are. But sometimes it's helpful, especially people, well, I want to skip the line. You keep saying, well, I want to do it in 1 month. And your surgeon's like, well, typically the human body needs this much time, right? And even if your body doesn't know about your timeline, it knows about
Yeah.
its timeline to heal, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like,
You know what Dr. Boone said to me?
what
He's
did he
so
say?
smart because he knew better. He said, okay, we'll see. Now he knew. He knew it wasn't going to get done in a month. He knew a month's time, I'm going to be bawling my eyes out trying to move. But sometimes, Kari, we see it in other people, like in Annie, right? Annie's
Yeah. So it's
college
gonna,
search. Let's
yeah.
talk about that.
So like Annie is my oldest daughter, 17, getting ready to think about college. She's going to be a senior, and we are starting the college search, and we're starting to look at, and there's so many options, like too many options. Go anywhere in the whole world, basically, right? And what we're trying to think about is I'm trying to frame this, and like the whole college search is just the journey to bring us closer to the answer. But it's hard when you go to a campus and you're looking around like every school has great programming, good things that you want to do, beautiful campuses, all that stuff. So sometimes it comes down to like, how do I feel here? Do I feel like I
Yeah.
could spend some time here? But then also the idea of like, we're spending time to do this so we can rule out some things we don't want because it's getting closer to what we do want. Even if it's not that particular school, it's important to like, this is the journey to come to a decision, and it just takes time. And we have to like, again, the things you can't see, how do I feel about something? I can't see my feeling, I'm experiencing my feeling, right? Like, or how do I know something resonates with me? I'm checking in with to be like, how my connection to this place feels. I can't show it to you, I have to experience it.
Yeah.
And so I also think at the same time when we're looking for schools, we're also managing a life transition of like, what's next for me, and
Oh,
some of the fear around like, what will my life be like now? Like I'm going through a major growth stage. So like the process is almost like the journey of the
yeah.
college search is a little bit around having patience for like, we're not doing this to make a decision today. We're doing this to help us make a decision down the road, but we have to start now. We have to
Yeah.
experience the things now because it's helping us forge a path. And I think that's a good metaphor in life. Sometimes when we're trying to make decisions, like sometimes I got to be on the path that will help me get to the eventual decision, but I can't be like, I want to do this and now I've decided. Some things take time. They just take time or experience. And then the things you can't see are like, how am I processing this?
Yeah.
What ways is this stretching me? How are my emotions playing into this? Those are the intangible things that you can't touch, but you can feel and you can process. But that's again the thing. Prove it to me. Measure it. Show it. Prove it. What's the timeline? And when you don't have it for those things, and to me, the most important things, like how do you measure when you think about like love? When you measure like relationships, when you measure your capacity to um generously give of your heart, right? Like when
Yeah.
you're with somebody and like you said, just listen, like how you feel about an experience like is hard to measure. And so then again, our other part of our brain is like, well, prove it, measure it, quantify it. And I also think like, does this college have for Annie, does it have this program, yes or no? Then is it worth visiting? Well, we have to, do you really know what you want to do with your whole life right now at 17? So was it maybe worth it to have a broader search than does this program have, like college have exactly this program?
Oh
Maybe
my God.
the
As
criteria
a
is lower.
parent, come on now, wait a minute though, because you're bringing something up. It's not just about Annie, parents have to show extraordinary. Now, for me, let's talk about this. I went back to the doctoral program very late in life, and I did it after the job loss thing. And I applied to 35, 36 schools, and I had to wait. And slowly the rejections came in, except for one. And the one school was actually my first choice, but it came in and it said, "Are you ready for it? We're going to put you on a wait list for
Wait.
next year." So, hello. And I thought, what the is a wait list? I mean, the letter came to Linda. She's the one that sent it back. And I had packed up and moved to Seattle because I thought, what the heck's a wait list? What am I? But I didn't read the small print. You're not in this year, you'll be in next year. But the waiting,
The
I can
waiting
only imagine what Annie is doing right now.
Right. And so many kids across America right now, right? You just wait, you're waiting, you're
Waiting.
looking, you're thinking, and your thing is such a perfect wait list. I know what's going to happen, but now I have to wait. So I have to be patient because I wanted to do it now. And you're telling me I have to do it later, which is such a good example of like, I want my knee fixed now. Well, your body will let you know when it's ready. Or like, I want to be back from my back injury next week. And my body's like, yeah, not going to happen. Right. Like, but back, what does it mean to be back? And that's why my husband's like, well, you couldn't get out of the bed before, now you can't. Like, is that progress? So like the idea of being things are going to happen in our
Yeah.
lives. They are, just because time marches on, right? So you eventually, the wait list will be over and you will be in that program, but you're at your own concept of wait list. And now
Oh
I
my
have to
God.
wait a year, and like, even though I know the thing's going to happen, but your journey to get there, right? And also almost, would you look back and say, were there some good things about
The
waiting?
best thing that ever happened to me, because what I did is I packed up and I moved to Seattle. And I just moved back to New Jersey, but I lived in the Pacific Northwest for 30 years. And I do not think I would have done that. Right. But this is all part of the journey. You know, I was coaching a mom the other day, and I mean, this is a short story. We can talk about it more. And she said, I don't know what to do. Like, what happened? She said, my daughter will not apply to any other school except the school that Caitlin Clark went to. Caitlin Clark is women's basketball icon. Almost everybody knows her if you don't follow the sport. My daughter wants to go to Caitlin Clark school. I said, okay. I don't want my daughter to go to Caitlin Clark school. My daughter doesn't play basketball. I said, okay. Uh, Did you find out why she wants to go to that school? Yeah, she's given me some, this is mom's word, cockamamie story about the excellence and what Caitlin Clark accomplished at this school. And I want to be in that energy. Mom is not thinking energy. Mom's thinking, you don't live in that state. How much is it going to cost? You don't play basketball, but you want to somehow go and stand on the court that Caitlin Clark. You know, we have to have a patience of the heart too. Our
That's beautiful.
children, our bosses, they ain't always going to give us what we want when we want it. The universe. But I got to tell you now, the key for me, and I want to hear your closing message. You know what the difference in my life is? And I pulled this out and I read it to Linda this morning. What gives me a shift is my big book and reminds me that I turn over 20 to 30 things a day to the God of my understanding. And I say God of my understanding, that's in the big book. It doesn't matter who you pick. You can pick the goddess. You can pick Isis. Whoever you pick doesn't matter. You can call it the universe or the grass. But 20 to 25 times a day, I'm doing that. And then I'm saying thank you. Because we have to trust in something outside of ourselves. What a great topic. What do you think about that? What's your message for today, Kari?
Yes, that's so beautiful. Trusting in the process, because it's a process, right? Like, and the things we can't see, and like, but the process is life, right? And the progress isn't always measurable. So bringing that to light, to be like, yes, in a world that says, here's the mom's financial considerations with her daughter wanting to go to school, and here's the daughter's dream, right? And then here's the like, and where do we find the journey that's going to get us one place or another? Because that thought might lead her somewhere, which might lead her somewhere else, but it's a process. And that's what I think is like making sure we understand and remember. We can understand, but sometimes we forget. So that's why I would say not only understand it, but then remember, especially in times like when I'm looking at my Coco thing, 5 months, and being like, yes, 5 months. Or you'd be like, I'll be done with my surgery in a month, right? Whatever we say. And then I wrote this out because I want to be able to say my closing message. I wanted to say, like, the definition of patience, I wanted to change it a little bit from the first thing. What if it's the ability to trust that something is happening even when we can't see it? So what if we redefined patience to be like the ability to trust something is happening when we can't see it? Or saying healing is occurring before my pain is even gone, but I'm healing, I'm in process. Or
Yeah.
that growth is happening before I feel confident that I've achieved my goal, but I'm still growing, right? Like, and don't forget the little seed is doing something, right? Including us as the seed metaphor. And then maybe too, like, trust in the fact that before I have evidence to prove something, I could also just know something. Like, the evidence might be inside us first if we take the moment to think, like, I'm going to get out of my hurry up, rush, get it done, goal achievement culture. And I'm going to be like, what my evidence might be how I feel about something. Or my
Yeah.
evidence might be how I've shifted somehow. My evidence, like, what's the idea of that? And then I think too, like, if we think about what's meaningful, really a lot of those things happen before we can see them. Like, we don't get married and then express our love. We fall in love and then get married, right? Like, but that happens something. And then that's why the things we rush, like, aren't really the things that matter the most. And when you think of what really matters, that cultivate, like your relationship with Linda, your friendship over years, right? My marriage to Joe, 20 years of marriage and then 16 years of dating, all the things that, like, that can't be rushed. It just has to be what it is.
Yeah.
Raising children, you raise them, it takes time to do that, right? Like, things in our life that we want to achieve. And even if I put it back to my back thing, like, okay, it took 5 months, but here I am. So, like, don't be so sad all the time. To, like, now I'm kind of proud of myself, right? Like, I switched from like that, like, oh no, to like, okay, right? And so, like, do that inner work, so then
Yeah.
the outer work can reflect it. The inner work first, and then the outer.
Yeah. Kari, thank you for this. I want to say two things to people. First of all, Kari's work is also the emotional side of it. And there is an emotional side. I mentioned my knee surgeries. I got 2 brand new knees. They were perfectly done 6 months after I was done. But it wasn't until last week that I stopped playing with knee braces on. Why? Because I didn't trust, I didn't believe. Now, that's significant. I took them off and I haven't put them on since. See, it's also what you talked about, because there's emotional side to this, and Kari Knutson is an expert. Go to knutsonspeaks.com. That's the part of this, the emotional side. That's where we all need help. Kari, thank you for a great show.
Oh, thanks, Dr. Pat. And thanks everyone for listening.
I can't wait to hear where Annie actually goes.
I
All
know,
right.
we'll find out.
Oh my God. I can't wait to find out. Thank you all for tuning us in, turning us on. We'll see you next time.
You have been listening to Get Big Out Loud Radio, where we explore the complex, funny, and beautiful ride of life with me, Kari Knutson, joining Dr. Pat live every second Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. I will help you to know which thoughts are keeping you small in order for you to get big. Get big and live your life out loud. For more information, visit KnutsonSpeaks.com.